As the peaceful morning unfolded over the grayish-white rooftops of Alberobello, a gentle mist hovered above the olive groves, wrapping the village in a sleepy calm. We were working with the locals to reinforce the fences protecting the trees, fences already bent and broken by something powerful. The air smelled of soil and dew, a deceptive calm before the coming storm. Suddenly, the shrill ring of a phone shattered the stillness, carrying an urgent message. Wild boar tracks had been discovered deep in the nearby woods, fresh and numerous, heading toward the lower fields. Within moments, the quiet routine turned into motion. The hunters dropped their tools and rushed toward the vehicles. Radios crackled, boots hit the gravel, and dogs barked sharply in excitement. It wasn't just another hunt. This was an emergency call. A herd that size could wipe out entire acres of crops overnight. Without hesitation, we grabbed binoculars, cartridges, and rifles. Setting off toward the mulberry fields, the wind carried the faint scent of wild beasts. The forest ahead seemed unnervingly quiet, as if even the birds sensed what was coming. Suddenly, the lead hunting dog surged forward, barking in short, tense bursts. The team froze instantly. Through the thicket, we could hear something breathing heavily, deep, guttural, close. John, our most experienced hunter, raised his rifle. One sharp shot cracked through the forest. The massive boar burst from the bushes, hit cleanly, tumbling down the slope. The first strike was successful, but we all knew it was only the beginning. The rest of the herd wouldn't be as careless. The ground trembled under our hooves as we advanced. Mark revved up his red Ford Ranger, driving us around to the opposite slope to block any escape. The radios buzzed. Then it came, the deep rumbling sound of hooves tearing through the undergrowth. Dozens of wild boars thundered down the hill like armored tanks. Tusks glinting, eyes wild with rage. The hillside seemed to breathe. Gunfire echoed across the valley. Each shot had to count. 1, 2, 3. Several fell, but more kept charging. The dogs barked madly, darting between the beasts. For a brief moment, chaos took over, the kind that only seasoned hunters can survive. Mark and I crouched low behind a fallen log as a massive boar broke through the brush right in front of us. Mark fired. The beast staggered, tried to lunge, then collapsed in a cloud of dust. Silence fell, broken only by the fading echo of gunfire. When the dust cleared, the hillside was still. The danger, however, was not over. Experience had taught us that when one group is taken down, another moves in days later. We gathered the team, checked ammo, and prepared for the next phase. The mission was far from done. By midday, the sun blazed mercilessly overhead. Sweat dripped down our necks as we paused for a quick rest near the stream. The dogs suddenly began barking again, their noses pressed to the ground, tails stiff. Trouble was near. I followed them up the ridge, rifle ready. Through the leaves, I spotted a massive black bull, cornered by the dogs, snarling, desperate to escape. A breath, a squeeze of the trigger. The shot echoed sharply, and the beast fell instantly. A single mistake, a single hesitation. It could have been the other way around. The forest was alive with tension. Every rustle, every sound carried weight. As dusk began to fall, the sky turned amber, and Mark lifted his scope toward the tree line. There it was, a silhouette moving quietly, almost ghostly. Its eyes reflected the fading sunlight. Mark fired once. The beast jerked and fled. John fired again, twice more. The shots missed, but it was enough to drive it back into the forest. Tonight, the crops were safe, but tomorrow was uncertain. At sunrise, we regrouped near the lower plains where reports of fresh tracks had come in. The ground was torn apart. Deep ruts, hoof prints the size of fists. The herd was larger than we thought. We advanced cautiously, every step calculated. Suddenly, a loud snort came from our left. A boar charged from the bushes. I swung my rifle and fired on instinct. The impact spun the beast around before it dropped. Behind it, more followed. It was chaos all over again. Gunfire and dust filled the air. When the smoke cleared, the field lay in ruins, but safe from further damage. We'd taken down nearly half the herd. The villagers could rest for now, but everyone knew this was temporary. Wild boars were survivors. They would regroup, breed, and return. Night fell over Albaro Bay. The campfire flickered as Mark scrolled through the day's footage on his phone. The reflection of the flames danced in his eyes. Tired, but satisfied. We'd protected the fields, but tomorrow would bring another challenge. The locals came to thank us, bringing olive bread and water. "You saved our season," one of them said quietly. Moments like that reminded us why we kept doing this. Days later, our next mission took us south, into the dense terrain of the Rio Grande Valley, a perfect haven for wild boars. Here, rivers carved through endless vegetation, and shadows moved even when nothing stirred. The air was heavy with the scent of mud and life. At dawn, we prepped the rifles, checked scopes, and loaded rounds. Within minutes of entering the valley, the hunt was on. A herd erupted from the brush like a storm, snorting, squealing, charging through the trail. The dogs gave chase, and gunfire cracked through the trees. A female hunter from our crew took aim and fired, but the shot missed by inches. I sprinted forward. cutting off the boar's escape, took a breath, and fired once. Clean hit. The beast stumbled, fell, and rolled into the creek bed below. We pressed deeper into the forest. Each turn revealed more movement, more signs of the herd's passage. Branches snapped. The earth was torn open. Suddenly, a boar burst from the left side, running fast. I swung the rifle, fired, hit it clean in the shoulder. It collapsed instantly. The next morning, we moved to higher ground for better visibility. The dogs worked tirelessly, weaving through trees. I could see movement through the grass. A large, mud-covered boar trying to cross the open field. I steadied my rifle and fired. The bullet struck true, dropping the target on the spot. But our greatest challenge awaited us in central Italy, on the slopes of Monte Amiata. Over 20 hunters from nearby villages gathered for the annual grand hunt. The mist rolled over the forest, and the sound of dogs echoed through the hills. As soon as we entered the woods, chaos erupted. Boars of all sizes burst from the shadows. Luca and I fired in unison. One after another, they fell. The ground shook with their charge, and for a moment, it felt like the mountain itself was alive. Hours later, after countless shots and narrow escapes, we stood among the trees, mud splattered, exhausted, victorious. The villagers would feast tonight, and peace would return, even if only briefly. As night settled, the stars shimmered above Monte Amiata, and the campfire crackled softly. Lucas, the retired hunter who once led this land's defense, approached us. "You did well," he said, his voice calm but proud. "But the hunt never truly ends. Tomorrow they'll be back." And so, as the fire's glow faded into the dark, we prepared again. Because out here, in the wild heart of the forest, one truth remains. For every hunt that ends, another begins.